Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Amaka. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make a bodycon dress. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I upload new videos. So let's get started. This is the fabric I'll be using for this project. Now this is velvet sequins. So this is the fabric I'll be using. Now what I have here is 1.5 yards of fabric. That's what I have here. So now I've folded my fabric into two. Now I have the front panel and the back panel here. This is my front panel and this is the back panel. Now the back panel has zipper allowance and the zipper allowance is 1.5 inches. The zipper allowance is 1.5 inches. This is my zipper allowance. So this is the front panel and this is my zipper allowance. Now you can see that I've drawn some lines already. So I'm just going to explain what I did here. Now this is my starting point, which is also going to serve as my shoulder line. This is my bust point. This is my waist point. This is my hip point. And this is the full length of the dress, and this is my hemming allowance. So now I'm drafting the front panel and the back panel together. I'm going to cut the back panel first before cutting the front panel. So this part is going to serve as my zipper allowance and also the vent. It's also going to serve as the vent. I'm not going to use zipper for it, but I'm going to use it to eliminate the zipper bulge. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking the neck measurement. Now I'm taking my measurement from here. From here, not from the zipper allowance. I'm taking my measurement from here. Okay, so my neck width. So the neck width I'm working with is, the front neck width is 4 inches. 4 inches neck width. And the front neck depth is 4 inches. So the back neck width is also 4 inches. So the back neck depth is 1.5 inches. I'm going to use 1.5 inches for the back neck depth. And I'll connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the shoulder measurement. Now half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7 inches. So the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7 inches plus ½ inch seam allowance, which I'm going to use to sew the sleeve, join the sleeve and the dress together. So this is 7.5 inches. So from this 7.5 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. And I'll connect this point to this point. Now the next thing I'm going to do from here, I'm going to take my armhole depth. Now half of my armhole measurement is 8 inches. So I'm going to mark half of my armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. So I'm going to mark 8 inches here. So now now this measurement I have here, this 7.5 inches I have here, I'm going to bring it down here. 7.5 inches. So this is 7.5 inches. So I'm going to connect this point to this point. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. Now on this chest point, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4. Now my bust circumference divided by 4 is 9.5 inches. 9.5 inches. So this is my 9.5 inches. So now I'm going to find the midpoint of this line. I'll find the midpoint of this line. Now this is the midpoint of this line. Now from this point, for the front armhole, I'm going to go in by 3/4. I'll go in by 3/4, and I'll connect this point to this point and this point to this point. So this is the front armhole. So for the back armhole, I'm going to connect this point to this point. So this is the back armhole. Now on the waist point, I'm going to take the waist measurement, my waist measurement on the waist point. So my waist circumference divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. Now my waist circumference is 30 inches. 30 divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 7.5 inches here. Now take note, because this fabric is stretchy, I'm not going to use seam allowance, and I'm not going to use that because it's stretchy. So my waist circumference divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. This is my 7.5 inches. Now on the hip point, I'm going to take my hip measurement on the hip point. My hip circumference divided by 4 gives you 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches here. I'm going to mark 10 inches here. So this is my 10 inches. Now the next thing I'm going to do, from this hip point, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. Now, to avoid pointy edges on the hip, so I'm going to come down by 2 inches, and I'll mark from this hip point. I'll come down by 2 inches. So this same measurement I have here, this 10 inches, which is my hip circumference divided by 4, I'm also going to mark it on this line, 10 inches. Okay, so on the hem of the dress, so now this measurement I have here, now on the hem, I'm going to take the same measurement I have here, this 10 inches I have here, I'm going to bring it down to the hem. So 10 inches, now I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches from this 10 inches. Because it's a pencil dress, I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches from 10 inches. So when I subtract 1.5 inches from 10 inches, that gives you 8.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 8.5 inches here, 8.5 inches here, and I'm also going to mark 8.5 inches here. So I'll connect the points. So I'm going to connect this point to the waist point. I'll connect the bust point to the waist point. And I'll connect the waist point to the hip point. Just like this. You see how I'm placing my ruler? So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to connect this point. Now I'll connect this point to this point. And I'll connect this point to this point. So I'm going to connect this point to this point just like this. So I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance for the shoulder. Now on the waist, now this is the back panel. This is the back panel. So this is my zipper allowance. This is the waist. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to eliminate the zipper bulge. Now for me to do that, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. From this point, I'll go in by 1 inch. I'll go in by 1 inch and I'll connect this point to this point and this point to this point. I'll start by cutting the back. I'm also going to cut this part. So I'll split it into two. I'm splitting the back panel. So I'm going to separate the back. I'm going to remove the back. And I'll trim the front. So I'll trim the front armhole too. So this is the front panel. This is the front panel. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to start. Now take note, I'm not using zipper for this dress because the dress is stretchy. I only added zipper allowance to my dress so that I'll be able to eliminate this zipper bulge. That's the only reason why I added zipper allowance. And because I also want the dress to have vent, that's why I added zipper allowance, but I'm not using zipper allowance on this dress because the fabric is stretchy. So I'm not using zipper allowance for it. I'm not using zipper for it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. Now this is the back panel. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to place it this way, right side facing right side, and I will sew. What I have here is 1.5 inches zipper allowance. So I'm going to sew with 1.5 inches zipper allowance. I'll sew and I'll sew it and get to this point and I'll stop here. So this part is going to serve as my vent. This part is going to serve as my vent. So I'm going to stop my sewing here. So that's for the back panel. So after sewing the back panel, I'm going to place the front panel on the back panel, right side facing right side, and I'll sew. And I'll sew. I'm going to sew with, so I'm going to start by joining the shoulder. I'll join the shoulder with half-inch seam allowance. I'll join the shoulders with half-inch seam allowance. Now after joining the shoulder with half-inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew the sides. I'm going to use 1-inch seam allowance to sew the side. So I'm going to sew here with 1-inch seam allowance to the hem, and I'll sew here. I'll sew here with 1-inch seam allowance. I'll sew here with 1-inch seam allowance. I'll sew it down to the hem. So after that, I'm going to hem the lower part. I'll hem the lower part. For the neck, I'm going to use bias to hem the neck. then I'll show you how to attach the sleeve. So I have my sleeve here. Now this is a basic sleeve. I have a tutorial on how to draft a basic sleeve. I'm going to leave the link of that video in the description box below so that you can check it out later. If your sleeve is going to be 3/4 sleeve, please buy 2 yards of fabric. Now if you look at my sleeve, you might not notice that I joined the fabrics because of the sequins. But let me show you something. You see the joining? I had to join fabrics to be able to achieve this. So when making yours, buy 2 yards of fabric. 1.5 yards will not be enough. So that's it with the sleeve. So the next thing, now I've joined the sides. I've joined the sides, and I've also joined the back. Now this is the vent. You see the vent? You see the vent? So this is a vent. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to use bias. I'm going to use bias to hem the neck. I'll hem the neck, and I'm going to fix the sleeve. I'll fix the sleeve, then I'll hem the lower part. If you want to use zipper, you can actually use zipper because there is zipper allowance. So I'm going to do all these things I said and show you the outcome. I'll fix the sleeve, I'll hem the neck with bias, and I'll hem the lower part, and that will just be it. If you found this tutorial helpful, please click on the like button. Share this video with your friends. Share this video in your sewing groups. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. Feel free to ask questions. I'll be in the comment section to answer all your questions. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.